Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We're talking about the political scene, and we were just speaking about the Republican Party's future and how much it's tied to Donald Trump and what's going to happen there. Keith just was very eloquent in how he expressed things should be, and I think I cut you off, Joe. I think you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to talk about reapportionment in the state legislature. And we have to remember that for 20 years, the Republican Party held a disproportionate number of legislative seats when you consider their registration numbers as compared to the Democrats. So, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And, it may be one of the reasons is that Pennsylvania was moving to be more conservative and less progressive. But certainly the foundation of these legislative races is the map. And so in this last round, Democrats would say they simply got their due. They simply got a fair fight in enough districts to make them come out slightly ahead. I think the message at the end of the day is that Pennsylvania really is a purple state. We'll be purple. And that's what we saw in this last legislative race.
Keith, you talk about the Trump problem, and your party is in the minority party, and the tactics you need, and the candidates you need, and the message you need to be successful. And your party has in history obviously shown that more than once. This Trump problem, these zealots that you mentioned, that you refer to, the polling for Donald Trump support in this demographic you allude to, it has been steady 35%, 36, 37. That fever doesn't seem to have broken yet. And in a party that has to play catch up, as you've mentioned, that makes it even more difficult. And until that fever breaks, it's going to be very tough, as you said. And you said you have to move past him quickly. I agree, your party certainly does. But when you have the 800-pound elephant in the room, Mr. Trump, saying it's my way or no way, and if I can't have it, no one else can, those folks will follow. When he takes his ball and leaves, they're going to leave with him. And I don't know that if in 1 year it's going to be enough time, unless that special prosecutor moves quickly on some of that low-hanging, some of those low-hanging issues, or if something big happens to take him off the stage, whether it's the special prosecutor or the Department of Justice, or he just walks away himself. If he says it's my way or no way, and that fever doesn't break on that 35%, it's going to be hard for the GOP statewide or nationally to do much of anything.
Well, far be it from me to accuse them of politics, but the Democrats have certainly a vested interest in slow playing the prosecution of the former president. As I've said on previous programs, he's the gift that keeps on giving. They would rather drag this out as close to 2024 as possible. And that, of course, is a concern of mine and my fellow Republicans.
Yeah, if I were in charge, I'd slow walk this prosecution.
Of course you would.
And if I were in charge, I would focus on the archive issue because it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I think you're right, Governor. Yeah.
He took the documents with him. As I understand it, it's against the law. I haven't looked at the law itself at the moment. They found them down there. That's a pretty simple case to present and stop this foolishness.
Or let me ask this question: if there is a strong Republican candidate, whether it be DeSantis or somebody else, DeSantis seems to have the most press behind him right now, going into mid 2023. Can a strong candidate bump Trump off of being this person within the party?
It depends on what that 35% does that we've talked about. If that 35% starts to break away from him, and Mr. DeSantis does very well, maybe they will appreciate the need to get back to the table and have a legitimate conversation about real issues. But if that doesn't happen, if Trump doesn't get it and DeSantis wins, which early polling suggests is likely to happen, and they just walk away, it's going to be very hard for Mr. DeSantis to get much traction, if any.
Donald Trump is one of those public figures that certain people take on faith. It doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter what the criticism is. It doesn't matter whether he's caught or exonerated or anything. There's a certain percentage of the Republican Party, and I even, I'm not sure we should call them a part of the Republican Party. They seem to have established their own party. But there's a certain percentage of people who vote in the Republican primaries who've taken him on faith. Decades ago, when I started visiting the homeland of my parents and grandparents, there were old men in Italy who would whisper to you off to the side, Mussolini wasn't all bad. He kept the trains running on time. So no matter who you are and how bad you are, some people who believe in you will believe in you to the end.
All right, let's turn the tables just for a second here, if I can. I'm sorry, Keith, did you have something you want to throw in there?
No, I just want to say that, mark my word, and I think this is in reaction to Jim's comments. Mark my word, if we go into Iowa in the first couple of days of 2024 and the former president is still on the ballot, even if we eventually outmaneuver him by someone else, a DeSantis or someone else, it's over for us. Yeah. We cannot survive a legitimate Trump candidacy for 2024. If he's on the ballot in Iowa, it's game over. And it doesn't matter who the Democrats nominate. So there is an urgency to deal with him and deal with him quickly.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to turn the tables just quickly on this one as well. And that is the current president, Joseph Biden. Should he run for re-election?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, look at what he's just done. We can go through the talking points, or the undisputed facts of the legislative agenda that he just accomplished. This was a very good two years for him. His first 2 years. First year got off slow. Going into 2022, slow. But then look at the legislation that came through starting in July and the things he was able to accomplish. So he has a record. It's going to be up to him. He has certainly earned that right. And there was a good article in Politico about the governor of California, rumored to be a candidate, who has already said, "If Mr. President, if you run, I will support you." And look, Stacy, if you have an incumbent, I don't care what party you are, who chooses to run for re-election for the presidency, shame on the party that primaries that person. Look what happened to Gerald Ford when Reagan took a shot at him in '76. Jimmy Carter won. Look what happened to Jimmy Carter in '80 when Ted Kennedy primaried him. I do not believe an incumbent president has ever survived re-election who has been primaried. Those are two that jump out in recent history. So if you want to move forward and you don't want to start to throw your party into a civil war, then you don't primary an incumbent sitting in president who signaled his intent to run. So right now he says he's going to do it. And if he wants to and he's able to, then he should. But at the same time, I have no doubt that the president and others in leadership are talking about a contingency plan if he were to change his mind. And we have started the work on a bench.
All right, I have to take another break. I want to hear from the rest of you about President Biden and the re-election in just a moment.